I don't remember exactly how or why I decided I wanted to learn how to crochet. Producing something tangible makes me feel like I have control over my intellectual output, unlike the torturous ambiguity of filmmaking. Like most major decisions and long-term projects in my life, I start them at a moment's notice, without much thought, and most of the time I quickly burn out and don't finish what I start. After I get an idea in my head, it's like I'll never be complete until I see it through. The problem is that most of my ideas become abandoned, either from boredom or frustration or lack of determination when I encounter challenges and setbacks. The realization always hits me that actually doing things isn't as fun and easy as thinking about doing things. I am an expert procrastinator. As someone with unattainable standards for my creative output and raging unmedicated ADHD, procrastination is probably what I'm best at. And the year of 2021 is my best procrastination accomplishment to date. I spent 1 full year wasting away in my parents' house in the midst of a global pandemic, while finishing my 3rd and final year of my bachelor's degree in film production and communications from the confines of my childhood bedroom. It did not culminate in graduating, however, because surprise, I did not finish my final film that I needed to complete in order to get my bachelor's degree in film production. I was lucky though, because my teacher gave me an incomplete, which allowed me 1 full year to finish my film and get my incomplete changed to an A. So I was planning on finishing my film that summer and graduating in August. But remember, I am a master procrastinator. So I went to interior Alaska, heartbroken and with a film to avoid making, to work in a restaurant outside Denali National Park. After working in a kitchen that even Gordon Ramsay himself would be shocked at, with no prior cooking experience or knowledge of Alaska, the midnight sun was starting to set, and the almost nightly aurora borealis and 2 feet of snow signaled to me that the season was over. The restaurant was closing for the winter, and it was time to go. Heartbroken again, after a summer of romance and friendship and a newfound connection with the natural world, I came home to upstate New York, intent on finishing my film in time for the December graduation deadline. Instead, I went to Arkansas to work at a film festival, and instead of flying there, because that would simply leave too much time to finish my film, I drove there and back. I stopped in Cincinnati, Memphis, Oxford, Montgomery, Atlanta, Charleston, Washington, D.C., and lots of places in between. I had another short-lived but intense romance with a sweet Southern boy and saw lots of friends old and new along the way. By the time I got back, heartbroken and aimless again, it was too late to finish my film by December. I needed another project, something to distract me from the heartbreak and constant anxiety of not knowing what I'm doing with my life, something to help me avoid making my film. John Perry, a philosopher and Stanford professor, published an essay in 1995 called Structured Procrastination.
That's people who do one thing as a way of not doing something else.
Procrastination can actually encourage productive subconscious thought.
I say that. All procrastinators say that. It's a great thing to believe you're a procrastinator. When you're putting stuff off, you're really thinking about it in the back of your head, then it comes out better. I have psychologist friends who are pretty skeptical. They can't seem to find this effect in the lab. But I say, who cares what they say?
This is notably different from regular procrastination, which can manifest itself, for example, in scrolling on your phone for 6 hours in order to avoid making a film. My procrastination has been extremely structured. Going to Alaska and doing a road trip through the American South, having back-to-back life-changing experiences and deep interpersonal relationships is pretty damn structured. But now I'm back in my childhood bedroom alone, and I have to think smaller. What can I do from the confines of these 4 walls that can help me avoid finishing my film? And that's when the crocheting idea came in. It's the perfect solution to my problem. It has a clear start and end, it's extremely tedious and time-consuming, and I've never done it before. So it will be enough of a challenge to hold my attention, and I'll gain a new skill in the process. So, 5th time's the charm, maybe. This is not right. Oh my god. My stitches are like so uneven because I'm frustrated. Is that my problem? What the fuck? So I'm going to have to do this again. I don't even know how many times I've done it. So I did the square 2 more times. This is what it looks like. It's not perfect, but I can at least see all 4 corners of it. Maybe this is right and I'm just like second guessing myself. I did it again and it has this same like weird space right here where the tail starts. 12:38 midnight on Valentine's Day, and this is what I'm doing. So I hate my life. I'm gonna try to watch a YouTube video, I guess, and figure out like why it's doing this, because I'm literally going insane. Okay, I think I figured out that I was double crocheting wrong this entire time, and that's why my pattern isn't matching up. I think that's my working theory right now. So I am gonna try it again and hopefully it will match up this time. 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to do this one more time. I think, look at me ripping it all out again. I think that I was double crocheting wrong. That is definitely true. So I am ripping this out and starting again. I think I got it now though. I'm gonna go with this one, and now I'm gonna start the second color, making sure not to cut the thread or the yarn prematurely like I did last time. My stitches are a little bit wonky, but I think I did the pattern right, so I'm gonna keep going and try to finish a whole square. I think I did this correctly. I have the next round of the pattern. I had to rip it out a few times because I was like losing count, but I'm gonna go to round 4 now. Don't even really have to use the pattern anymore because I just like understand now like what the sequence is, so I'm happy about that. And I'm gonna do the third color now for this square. It's just the border is a different color, and then I'll be done with the square. So I'm pretty proud of myself because I was really not getting this at first, but now I think I got the hang of it. So I'm editing this video right now and I'm rewatching me learning how to crochet almost exactly a year ago to the day. And I literally forgot like how hard it was for me at first, and that I spent like 2 entire nights after work just trying to do the center part of one square. And it's crazy because it's like second nature to me now, and I didn't even have to look at the pattern for most of making the blanket, but the actual initial learning process was really hard. And it's kind of making me think 2 things. One, I think it's so much easier to learn something like this if you have a teacher, like if you have someone sitting next to you explaining how to do it. And it's actually really hard to learn seemingly simple things if you have to teach yourself, even if you have like the internet and guides for how to teach you. It's a lot harder if you don't have a teacher, which is kind of how I feel like with my filmmaking now, that I'm learning everything really slowly because I don't have a teacher and I'm just like trying everything by myself through trial and error. And like your mind has its own limitations, and like, I don't know, I'm kind of skeptical how much you can actually teach yourself without input from someone, from an actual person who knows more than you, even if you have like books and stuff to learn from. And I completely forgot how hard it was for me and how many times I had to rip out my square. Like I think I ended up ripping it out like 15 times trying to learn, and I was doing the stitch completely wrong to begin with. Like it was such a mess. And I spent a long time just trying to learn how to do that initial square. And it's crazy because now it's like second nature to me, and I don't have to look at the pattern and I can crochet very quickly. But at the time when I was first learning, it was really hard. And It's making me think that like there's probably people out there who would have been able to learn this a lot easier than I did. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter because I pushed through that initial learning curve and I mastered the skill and I finished my project and it looks really good. And like, it doesn't matter if you have a hard time at the beginning as long as you can get over that. Like, it's not really a measure of your talent and it doesn't really have any bearing on your success in the future. Once I got the muscle memory to crochet fairly easily, it gave me time to think. Having to make 120 squares gives you a lot of time to think. At first, I thought about everything but the looming responsibility of my film and graduation. At first, I thought a lot about men. Men I hate, men I wish I had, men I hate who I wish I had, and I didn't think about my film. I started listening to travel podcasts and thought about where I want to go when I can save enough money from my restaurant job and can afford to travel the world. I listened to travel stories about a river cruise in Laos, hiking in Chile, safaris in Namibia, street food in Panama, and road trips in Saudi Arabia. I dreamed about going to every country in the world and what it would take to get there, and I didn't think about my film. Somehow I got on this idea about building a house. Not like hiring a general contractor to build me a custom home, but actually building my own house from the ground up. Pouring the foundation, doing my own framing and electrical work and plumbing, and all my own interior finishes. For some crazy reason, this all seems completely doable to me, even though for the past 11 months I've been unable to finish a 10-minute student film that's preventing me from graduating. I obsessively researched how to do your own roofing and how to lay hardwood floors and finish drywall. And I didn't think about my film. After about 50 squares, and each square takes me roughly 40 minutes to complete, so that's 2,000 minutes, which is 33.3 hours, which is about 4.5 shifts at my day job as a sushi cook. I ran out of things to think about and started thinking about my film. Unlike my other dreams and obsessions and projects, I started thinking about it slowly. My film and I were not friends. I felt actively hostile towards it and all the turmoil it's caused me over the past year. All the ways my unfinished film represents my deepest ineptitudes, my ability to consistently not live up to my potential, to not advance in my creative process. I tried to stop thinking about that and think about why I even started making this film in the first place. And I started making it because I like to make films, and I felt like I had an important story to tell. And I felt like it would be fun to make. Slowly, I let myself imagine shots I still had to execute and edits I still had to make. For the first time in a year, I let myself dream instead of agonize. And then my fingers got tired and my hands got tense, and I had no choice but to do the real work. So I shot more of my film and I edited some more, and actually it was really fun, like I wanted it to be when I decided I was going to make this film over a year ago. And when I was tired of editing, I crocheted, and when I was tired of crocheting, I edited. And soon enough, my film was done and my blanket was ready to be sewn together. On April 19th, 2022, I submitted my film and my professor changed my incomplete to an A. And on May 1st, 2022, I graduated college. A year later than I thought I would, but I did it because I finished my film, like I said I was going to.
We did it.
We did it.
We all did it.
We all freaking did it. So I thought that I would finish my blanket in tandem with finishing my film in the spring of 2022, except it's January of 2023 right now and my blanket is still not sewn together. And that's because I had the idea of creating this shot using my projector and making a montage with stock footage, illustrating what I was thinking as I was crocheting my blanket, and then writing the voiceover about what I was thinking and editing it all together, and then changing outfits in between the takes so that I could make this sort of like time lapse of me crocheting my blanket. And all of that proved way too much for me to do while I was working overtime in a restaurant. So it's almost a year later and big surprise, my blanket is still not finished. I don't really care that I haven't finished the blanket yet. I mean, it's not like my future is hinging on me finishing it. But isn't it interesting that in my effort to make another film out of my struggle to not finish my college film, I was able to delay finishing that other film and my crocheted blanket in almost the same exact time frame that it took me to finish my college film. I know that part of the reason it takes me so long to finish things is my ADHD. My brain has its own fucked up tendencies that make it hard for me to break down larger projects into doable steps and stay focused on those smaller steps for long periods of time. And I do really struggle with insecurities about whether or not I'm talented. I think to myself constantly, am I even good at making films? Is this idea even worth doing in the first place? But I have to give myself credit where it's due. My ideas take a long time to actualize because they're complex. Much of my creative process runs like background software on a computer. When I was butchering fish and cutting cucumbers in the restaurant for hours on end, I was thinking about this film, and many, many other films I have in my head. So when I get over myself and I sit down to make it, it actually doesn't take me that long, even though it was a year in the making. Maybe structured procrastination is just a word for my creative process, and it's mostly not procrastination at all. Creative ideas are like living organisms. They take time to grow, and they have to feed on something to do it. My creativity feeds on itself in order to evolve, like a cycle of life. One idea exists to support another. My need to finish my college film led me to learning how to crochet, and my crocheting helped me focus my mind on finishing the film. But while I crocheted, I had new ideas too, like making this film now. And I mean, who knows, maybe I'll build my own house someday with my bare hands, all because of this elaborate procrastination scheme.
But actually, I think if you went through history and you took out everything that someone had done while they should have been doing something else, every invention, every work of art, every poem, every novel, probably wouldn't be much left.